There are three sources of our module for the whole module. The first one is the laws, the existing laws and policies, the Republic Act, Republic Act, what's that? Republic.
10175.
We have the laws, existing laws of our country, which is the Cyber Security Act, and then the Data Privacy Law, which we have discussed that it should be harmonized as one, because one of the most concerns is that what are stolen or what is after in our cyber networks or cyberspace are our data, or especially personal data or probably data of our organization or unit. And then second source of our discussions or the module uh, is our international standards, specifically your ISO standards, which we have discussed. There are actually a lot of the ISO standards that we have reference into. And then the last one is, of course, the book of knowledge. No? And of course, this book of knowledge are also international book of knowledge, which has been there for some time already, and it has been proven and tested. So those are the three sources of this module in terms of drafting our policies, in cybersecurity unit. Then yesterday we discussed about the cybersecurity risk management, and then we discussed that identification of the assets is the most crucial thing here. We should know what is our asset in terms of ICT infrastructures, in terms of applications, even our our assets in terms of people. And we have discussed that cybersecurity is not just the concern of the top management, it's the concern of the rest of the organization, even downwards. So then, after identifying our assets, then we discussed that we should know how to analyze what are the possible risks. What are the possible risks it will create, or what degree of risk it will give us in our organization or unit. And then we identified what are the possible source of threats so that we could identify our possible mitigation and impact. So in that way, we will be able to make sure that the impact of the breaches or attacks that it will be creating is not that big, or we should be ready. No? As what we have discussed, it should be uh, we should be proactive in all the things that we do, especially in the cybersecurity unit. Was, of course, number one, the first table was to determine your asset. Again, we have listed the assets. This is in terms of ISO standards. We have not just think about this. These are already given to us. So we have six, no? We have generalized terms in terms of assets. Then we identified what are the possible source of threat, and of course, is that threat, and then we identify if that threat is high, medium, or low. So we again, source of threat and kind of threat is different from every organization or unit because we have different scenarios. So the first asset, it was identified as information. So what are the possible source of attacks, source of threats? So very good. Social media, of course, we have their weak security and improper handling of confidential documents. Some of us are very careless in terms of handling personal confidential documents. So again, he identified it as high risk. Then reputation, our reputation as an organization failing to deliver high quality standard of service to the clients, which most of the clients complain. So that threat is still high risk. In terms of software, he identified the source of threat in terms of spyware, virus, spamming, phishing, and ransomware attack. So very good. Still high risk. Hardware, very good. Brownouts, power failures, poor ventilations, locations, and of course, driver incompatibilities, also high risk. Then services, out of date software, okay, poor implementation of firewall and poor security monitoring. So It is very, very good that he has identified all of these things because probably these are considered a lot of risk. So by doing all of these things, we may be able to come up with a security policy that would further strengthen our cybersecurity unit. And then lastly, people, unauthorized personnel to use computer or use removable devices. Yes, this is very good. He identified the use of flash drives being inserted to devices without even asking permission. So this is high risk because these are a lot of source of viruses. So if you will try to look at all of these things, these are just all internal threats. These are just internal threats. Except for the software phishing and spamming, these are all internal threats, which are very high for him. Then he identified another table, same personnel. We have the keylogger, spam worms, still at high risk. We have the organizational website hacking. So this is now external. We're in ransomware, denial of service attacks, computer virusing, form tampering, SQL injection. So still high risk. For the physical, then we have the theft, physical ICT infrastructure, sabotage, physical security breaches. And then, of course, you have the virtual, which includes your cloud computing, cloud storage, tailgating, data breaches, malware, mobile phone apps, phishing, Trojan, denial of service, still high risk. So again, all the source of threat that he has identified in terms of assets are all high risk. So which means it will greatly affect the organization as a whole, or probably could affect at a high degree or high impact to the operations of the organizations or unit. Then this time in terms of cybercrime that we have listed, again, these cybercrimes that were listed are given to us as a checklist by your ISO standards. We did not just create this on our own because this was also done in a survey manner wherein it was identified as one of the most common attacks, not just in our country, but also globally. So first one is illegal access. He identified it as internal attacks, careless employees, mobile security breaches. So what are the vulnerabilities? Compromised database and full office operation. Then it is very clear that our database is compromised, our storage is compromised. This is what is after by the attackers, our databases. Once they get in, what they are after is the database because they want to extract those data. So what are impact? Operational downtime, still high risk. So what are the possible remedies? Use strong word passwords. As I have said, if we could add another password, aside from the username and password, then we could use the device signatures. That's why we could improve update firewall settings and antiviruses. Then we have the illegal interception. So now these attacks are done using your internet or the gateway itself. So this is now more of an external. So again, what they're after is our database. They will let stop our full operations. So again, downtime. Again, same remedy. Strengthen the firewall and antivirus. Data interference. So mobile security, internal attacks, still internal attacks. So always backup data. Okay. Use strong passwords, update your password. Then system interference. So it will destroy your applications it's being used. So this is not in terms of security. What they are after is to disrupt the operations, not steal data. So they will destroy your applications to uh, provide you a lot of downtime, which means it more downtime, more financial loss. So this is usually done by other companies to disrupt their competitors along the same services or the same product. Then, of course, misuse of device, internal attacks, still the same, still the same remedy. And then forgery, tampering, still no. If I would analyze, it is very clear that the one who created this is very, very familiar of his infrastructure or assets in his organization and unit. And then he pretty knows what are the possible remedies. So by doing this all possible remedies, by identifying all the impacts of of the crimes, of all the threats, now we may be able to work on possible solutions. So if you would try to look at the questions for understanding for this module, it's just one question. It's just one question. Uh, how the examined cybersecurity risks are controlled. So we are finished determining the assets, determining the risk, where it came from. The question is, how are they now controlled? With appropriate policies, process, people, and product. The sad thing is we have the product, but we don't have the policies. We have a lot of products. We have procured a lot of products, and we do not have policies to implement it. How to properly implement it? Sad to say, most of us have procured products, but we have not identified our assets. We have not identified what are the possible risks, what are the possible threats that it could create to our unit or organization. So it's very clear here. There should be four. Good, because we are all competent. There are a lot of people. The sad thing is we don't have the process. We don't know what are the steps to do. We just think out of the box. Okay, this is what we will do. And we have not thought about it. And we are quick to respond on all the things that we do. It is that is still good because we are still knowledgeable in all the areas that we do, but it is better that we have the process. We have the process to have as our basis. So again, let me very clear this one. In terms of policies, before we can control our cybersecurity unit, our cybersecurity in our organization, there should be the presence of the policy. We will discuss this one by one later. We will have the process, the people, and the product itself designed to achieve the identification, detection. We need to identify, then we need to detect, we need to prevent, and we need, uh, these are controls that are designed. No? We have to identify, detect, prevent, respond. No? So, and of course, recover any objects of security management because the last part will be operations. The last part of the module will be management and of course the operation itself. So today we will be talking more about control of your cybersecurity in terms of policies and then your ICT infrastructures. Okay. Now, I have listed here a lot of normative references for today for understanding, in which I will also be providing you a copy later on, or probably before, if we will have more time later on, if we have time, before we could go to the question and answer. I could show you some of the salient points of these ISO standards that we are using as our form of reference.